Those of us that are involved in ministry know that culture and teamwork is so critical when you're starting out on a new venture. And for me, this idea that the body of Christ is all of these pieces working together, not separately, was really critical in the early days of establishing where we were going to go.
When I first started in the CareWorks role in 2004, our office was in a little factory at Girraween, and the Churches of Christ Aged Care office, it was in Pendle Hill in Dunmore House. And then Andrew's office, or I guess the conference executive office, was in the bottom basement of Auburn Church of Christ. And then the ACOM office was in the church manse in Castle Hill, at the rear of Castle Hill Church of Christ. And all the ministering staff were in their local church. So getting together with all of those was quite a challenge. In April 2007, we brought together all of the ministry teams into this place at Rhodes. And so what happened was this great sense of coming together. I think there was probably a little bit of difficulty in bringing all those teams together, but I think there was alignment of vision and values, and also that sense of how can we work together in partnership and on projects together. 13 years on, I think all of us in the ministering staff are just working a lot better at how to resource churches. So whether that's been safe church practices, or whether that's been a property issue, or whether that's been some church pioneering activities, we are just better equipped to work together in team from our end, but also working in team with local churches.
In 2008, John Crowther and I had this incredible privilege to travel to Lake Louise in Canada and to join Dr. Henry Blackaby and his son, Dr. Richard Blackaby, on a spiritual retreat. I remember to this day Dr. Henry Blackaby standing up and saying to the gathered community, of which there were about 150 of us, spiritual leaders move God's people onto his agenda. The Blackabys taught us that in order to lead well a spiritual, faith-filled community, it's critical that we lead out of the repository of our own spiritual journey. And I know we came back from that retreat totally convicted that the future of the church and all of its fullness and vitality must be led by spiritual leaders who are nurturing their own spiritual growth and teaching others how to do it. Going forward, I became convicted that churches need to learn a new art. How do they not only transform themselves to be much more dynamic and functional, but how do they become agents of transformation in their own communities? The concept of fresh hope has become so important to us, coming from this idea that in order to have currency out of our spiritual leadership, we can't offer anything to the local community unless we bring fresh hope from that space. It's an incredible opportunity to link the reality of God into the lives of so many individuals going forward.
I was part of a spiritual mentoring cohort in 2016-17. I discovered that I had a huge need, actually a desperate need, for my story to be told and accepted. Being involved in the group, in the cohort, there is no sitting on the sidelines. So my involvement gave me the courage to recognise that I actually had something to offer the group. And that actually brought me a real life with God and in my faith. Through the spiritual mentoring training, I'm now working as a spiritual mentor and a formation director, and I never would have expected that.
So I did Navigate in 2009, and I went into that as a very broken person, carrying a lot of hurt and pain. So my Navigate year was a real reforming year. When you're doing formation, people are digging into your life story, and all of a sudden you're finding like areas of your heart that you'd blocked off and hadn't realized were down there. And so it's like you're opening every single little door and letting God in, and then you don't even realize that you're changing until you have a bit of hindsight to look back and see, actually I'm a different person now. I definitely couldn't be doing what I'm doing now if it hadn't have been for Navigate. I think I would have taken all of my pain and brokenness into the roles that I have now and probably would have self-destructed in a whole bunch of different ways.
Well, 4 years into retirement, I was starting to feel pretty spiritually washed up. A friend told me about Recharge, and I went and signed up for the 12-month course, and I found it an amazing experience. It brought back the life that was missing, and I started to realise that God's still got something for me. I want others to experience what I found at Recharge. So I'm involved with formation in the Navigate programs. I'm also sit on the board, the Mission and Ministry board. I'm also involved with the Grants Assessment Committee. It wasn't game over, it's game on.
At Nation's Heart Christian Community, we entered into the Transformational Church cohort in 2017, and we needed a chance to stop and reflect about where God had brought us to, and where we in the right place, were we seeing and hearing Him correctly, and where would we step for the future. For us, it was a time of discerning that the call to community needed to be sustained and grown. And because we'd clarified that yes, that's what God wanted us to do, that helped us to face up to this huge project of building a community hub that would house our food hut ministry, but also give us a chance to have space for God's breath to move in a new way amongst us. So God brought us through with that sense of calling, and now He's realised that with us in this beautiful new building, which we've just opened, so that we can welcome more people and give them a chance to encounter life and hope in this place.
About 15 years ago, the question was asked at Kingsford Church, if the church disappeared, would the community miss us? And after a bit of time of thinking, the answer came back as, no, I don't think they would. We realised that we were a church full of foodies. We love food in this church. And so we thought, well, let's put on a dinner. We knew that there are people who were alone, who did it tough, and so, we just wanted to create a community for them. And we also wanted to bless the children in this community, especially those who have found life difficult, who've come from difficult backgrounds. And so through our weekly homework club, we wanted to just bless them by teaching them, giving them something to eat. And it's because of the trusting relationships that we've built over a number of years that they trust us. They trust us with their lives, they trust us with their children, and we hope that we'll have opportunities to share Jesus Christ with them.
As a church, we are really good at looking after people and loving people and supporting them. And we wanted to get into this homelessness space, but what we need a whole bunch of houses. We need some properties, and there's legislation, there's compliance that we need to be in line with, and we didn't have the capacity to do that. We didn't have the time or the energy or even the expertise, and forming a partnership with Fresh Hope was really important to help us do that. Fresh Hope Housing really helped us with our leasing. They've helped us with getting the building ready, so in regard to builders, getting plans together, making sure we've got all our insurances in place, and hooking us up with the right people to make sure that the building was ready to go so we could actually do what we do well, and that is put people in it. We don't just want to put a roof over someone's head and then just leave them there. We actually want to make sure that life change happens, that people come to know Christ, that their finances get in order, their emotional well-being gets to a good place, and that takes time and that takes resource, and we've been able to do that, and that's a great partnership.
It's been an extraordinary journey. It's so exciting to see what God is doing in so many locations, in so many individuals, and I'm so looking forward to seeing what God continues to do into the future.